Okay, it is 10:03, so we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. We probably will have some more trickle in, and that is okay. But I just want to welcome everybody to the PRTF provider meeting. Usually I am co-hosting, so today I'm hosting since Shay, I've said I'm looking at Ebony's face right now, but Shay is actually out this morning, so um, I'm leading this meeting, and I'm really excited about this. We have a great guest speaker today, as well as some new things that I'd like to talk about. So I just want to welcome you all. Like I said, I'm Austin Clowers. I'm the program coordinator for the unit for our psychiatric facilities, and we have on here Miss Ebony Rush. She's our program manager. And she's waving there, and she's over our placement and residential and adoptions. We have Clayton DeBoer on today, who is one of our specialists in the program for psychiatric. And we have Patrick. I can see he is our specialist as well. I forget exactly what his title is, but he is my go-to man. So I appreciate him on here today. And we also have members of our background unit, and they are here to answer any questions. So that's going to be my opening thing today is, does anybody have any questions for the background team? And I know they'll put their information in the chat as well. Okay, I don't hear any questions today. Anything, Kayla, or any of the team do you have anything to say or anything that is important that has come up? Okay, so I will have one of them put their information in the chat. And if you guys have any questions for the background unit, we will be glad to answer those questions or get you over to them to assist you in whatever you guys have. They are a great team. They are 100% support to everybody here in the state of Arkansas, and I appreciate them being on today. So I do want to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker this morning. His name is Clay Fitzpatrick. He is the food service manager at Youth Home. And we were really excited to hear some changes that they had made to their food service program and how that has affected the behaviors and attitudes of the children. And I even had heard some kids had to be put on a weight management plan after changing the food because they love the food so much. So Clay, I want to introduce you, and you have the room. So thank you, Clay.
Thank you, Austin. I'm Clay Fitzpatrick. I started at Youth Home in September of 2021. I come from a restaurant background. I had no experience in behavioral health or anything in the medical field. But I noticed when I had started there that the kids weren't very excited about the food. And I think they had just recently been on the National School Lunch Program, which was, they had to get everything on that plate. No matter what it was, they had to get it on their plate. And it would cause a lot of tension because if they didn't want Brussels sprouts, they didn't want Brussels sprouts, and they were putting it on that tray anyway. So I could kind of see this disconnect with the kids, and they didn't seem to really be enjoying the food. A lot of the food was coming back. We were wasting a lot of food. And coming from the restaurant side of things, that's like the number one no-no is just cost. And, we don't want to waste product. So I started talking with Larry Betts about maybe changing a few things around. And since we had just gotten away from that National School Lunch Program, we started giving the kids more options. And with that, it was kind of empowering the kids to have their own choice and voice in what they were going to eat. We were also getting fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, doing most of the breaking down and like the processing of food in-house. So instead of getting when I first started, it was a lot of frozen vegetables, pre-mixed, pre-cut. They steam it, it's mushy, it's gross, it doesn't have any flavor. So we started getting in fresh Brussels sprouts, fresh broccoli, parsnips, carrots, and we were roasting them. And the kids were blown away. Like they were like, I never thought I'd like a Brussels sprout, but they'd be asking for seconds. So that was a good start. We also started serving sugar-free drinks, like Crystal Lights. We usually have 2 options of Crystal Light, and then we'll have like a flavored water, like a lime water or cucumber water. They seem to actually enjoy the flavored waters, which I didn't expect. We also began offering a soup that we make in-house. We were making our own chicken stock. So it's now every day we have a soup option that we make from scratch, no canned soups, from house-made chicken stock most of the time, or vegetable stock that we also make in-house. That has been a huge hit. And it's also a way to, a lot of the kids, come in kind of timid and don't want to talk. But when they're, interested about like, what is this soup? It's really good. And they want to ask a bunch of questions. It opens up this, like a little, a bridge of communication. And we have just been really going from, serving food in the cafeteria to really trying to make the cafeteria a friendly and positive environment, where the kids feel safe and they can ask questions and they can be honest about the food. If they don't like it, they can tell me and I'm not gonna be mad. So it's been a good thing, using food as a way to communicate. We've greatly improved the dining experience and the environment. We're kind of treating it, these are our customers and this is our little restaurant. So it's like the customer's always right. We try and do everything we can to make them happy to an extent. Sometimes they want a little extra peanut butter or something, and we got to pump the brakes on that. But other than that, it's been a positive experience. We've improved the menu. We're working with a licensed dietitian. We're really, it went from, frozen hamburger patties to frozen chicken patties to, we're doing fresh, getting cases of fresh chicken in, trimming it all, grilling it. We're hand patting all of our burgers from fresh beef. It's just been a drastic change, and it has been a lot of work. And it's been a challenge because I think that kitchen had been doing it one way for so long that it has kind of, it was just a challenge. It was kind of trying to get everybody on the same page and, making everybody know that the kids were, they come first, and we got to start making good food, because if they don't like it, it's just gonna, I remember when I was a kid, and if lunch was no good, I was gonna be in a bad mood. And especially in a place like this where the kids really don't want to be there, I think it just greatly improves their entire behavior from an hour before lunch, hour after lunch, hour before dinner, hour after dinner. We've also made a lot of changes to the dessert menu, where it used to just be like frozen, bake off some cookies, packaged brownies, but now we're pretty much making everything from scratch. We're making house-made brownies, pudding, jello, lemon squares, blondies. We're trying to just experiment with everything, because most of the people in the kitchen now come from restaurants, but we also we weren't like bakers or, so we're kind of experimenting with things that we're uncomfortable with, but it's also giving us that creative outlet. So it just keeps the entire positive vibe of the kitchen going. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got, is that we strive to try and make the cafeteria the best part of the kids' day by forming positive and impactful relationships. And so far, I haven't had any outbursts in the kitchen. All the kids come in smiling, saying hello. We all go out to the kitchen and talk to them and see how they like the food and what they didn't like about the food. But overall, it's been great.
If I can lean in a little bit with this, I'm Larry. I'm the Chief Operation Officer at Youth Home, and I'm over food services as well. We made the decision back in August 2020, I believe, to leave the National School Lunch Program. And that was a little bit daunting, because obviously it meant losing a revenue stream. But it was coming out to about $45,000 a year for our smaller operation. And we knew, with all the hoops and regulations with the National School Lunch Program, that we were seeing the majority of our food and cartons of milk go straight in the trash. If you're not familiar with the National School Lunch Program, you're required to put everything on the tray. And this oftentimes created a power struggle that was unnecessary, because a child would come in and say, I don't want a milk. I'm sorry, you're required to take a milk. You have to actually hand them the milk. And it would honestly cause a bunch of just unnecessary strife in our cafeteria. By moving away from National School Lunch Program also, we were able to really broaden what we were able to offer and get to more scratch cooked, homemade meals. And the timing was actually in our advantage, because as you guys can imagine, food costs have gone up across the board. But because we've moved away from processed foods and we're doing all the processing in-house, we've actually kind of maintained our supply chain issue expenditures. So our costs have not gone up, but the quality of our food and our offerings have gone up. We consciously made the decision to, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, to move away from cafeteria workers to, we went out and scalped restaurant people. So we have back there in the kitchen now, probably 80 to 100 years worth of kitchen experience with some very dynamic, excited cooks. And Adria can speak to this. In the previous years, we used to track employee meals because we used to sell them little tickets. And we honestly one year sold 8 employee meals. Now on a regular basis, I would say we're feeding 25 to 30 team members a day. We've moved to free meals across the board. So we actually had a team member mention in passing that it feels like working for some kind of .com where you have chefs on hand. So it's really been a positive change for our kids. It's given us an opportunity to demonstrate in real time a trauma-informed approach, because the kids love to interact. It used to be very regimented, no talking in the lunch line, get your tray, move down the line. And we've worked to move away from that, where the kids love to ask questions about the soup. They're trying things like chicken curry, they're trying sweet potato soup, they're trying, all kinds of stuff. Our whole kind of mantra early on was, if you give kids a choice, they'll choose to eat. And we've seen that across the board. The kids do actually feel empowered. They get to enjoy their meal. There's not a power struggle with, being forced to take a tray of, if they don't want the green beans, we don't put the green beans on the plate. It saves the waste. It saves the power struggle. And I really think, and Adria can speak to this as a witness, it's improved the morale of not only our kids, but also our team members. So we're very happy with the changes we've made. And we'd be happy to share menus. We do a 3-week rotation of our menus as well. So
I'll piggyback on what Larry says. I've been at Youth Home for about 11 years now, and until Clay and them took over the kitchen and started making those changes, I never, ever, ever had a meal from the cafeteria. I would come in and I would be like, what is that smell? It would permeate all the way through the halls, and now I come in, I'm like, oh my God, it smells so good in here. What are we having for lunch? And I have begun eating in the cafeteria, and I think that there are a lot of the people that work in my department specifically do so as well. We would always bring our lunch, but now the food is so good. And also knowing that you have an option of a soup if you're not really keen on what they're serving that day makes all the difference in the world. And Clay, we have a staff portal, and Clay actually posted a picture on our staff portal, the difference in what a frozen chicken tender looks like versus using a fresh chicken tender. And you don't really think about those things when you're eating it yourself. You buy those frozen, easy to microwave, hit it in the air fryer chicken tenders. But then when you actually see the difference, it's like, oh, that's kind of gross compared to what it's really supposed to look like.
Wonderful information. I do appreciate you guys speaking today. One of the takeaways I think is very important for me in this is that these kids live here. This is their home, wherever that may be, whatever program. So, they want to feel like they have a home cooked meal, or they have a meal that is, worthy of them coming home to, and it's not another school meal or, whatever it may be. With the psychiatric programs, we do have some residentials in here, but some attend school elsewhere. But, good food, makes people happy. I know I'm not happy when I don't get a good meal, or, I'm a big boy, so I like to eat. So it's like, I know that, getting a good meal makes me happy. So I know that's changed the, attitude and atmosphere there. And we really do appreciate Clay coming on and speaking, and Larry and Adria for following up as well. So wonderful job. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the
I
chat or you can
do.
ask. Or, yes,
I
go ahead,
do.
Ebony.
So, Clay, if you can answer the great debate. So is it better to have frozen vegetables or fresh vegetables? Because I heard that with the frozen, the nutrients are frozen more than it would be fresh vegetables. I don't know why I can't talk, but
All right, I think on that, it's kind of like canning. It's the nutrients are there, but the structure of the vegetable is pretty much gone. Like when you have to can something, you have to bring it up to a certain temperature. When you freeze something, all the cell walls in that vegetable kind of break because it's expanding with that, the moisture is just freezing and it's kind of breaking down cell walls. So it tends to get a little mushy. So it's actually frozen vegetables are fine. But I think that a fresh oven roasted, a little olive oil, salt and pepper, Brussels sprout could be one of the best things you could ever have. Now, and I think that just like steaming already frozen vegetables, it just gets so mushy and it loses its color. And so I'm a fresh vegetable guy, but I'm not against canned vegetables or frozen vegetables because it's a good option.
I will say also, a lot of our kids have texture issues, and it can be a real problem if that doesn't feel right. And I'll also say, early on, we realized when we attracted such a dynamic team of experienced restaurant people, they weren't getting to demonstrate their knife skills and demonstrate some of their, some of the talents they developed over the years in the industry. And just pouring frozen vegetables from a box into a pan, they were bored, and it was not rewarding to them. So allowing them to come up with their own soup kits, keep their knife skills up, breaking down chickens, doing all the stuff from scratch, it actually is rewarding for them. And I think what I really love, and Clay touched on this, is, we preach that relationships are key. Our kids have relationships with our kitchen workers, with Clay, with Tom, with the guys back there. They joke, the kids are the roughest critics and say some of the funniest things about the meals and foods. And they also are quick to heap praise on them as well. They love, I love seeing a real relationship developing between kitchen staff, which historically has kind of been background staff, and the kids interacting. We do table service at every meal where members of the kitchen come from the back to go out in the dining room and just interact with the kids, ask them what they like, ask for suggestions. And so if relationships are key, our kitchen team is really demonstrating that every day. And I'm really proud of them for that.
And we all know that in a trauma-informed care setting, those connections with people are imperative. So that really helps, because back in the day when we had to give them all of that food, we would receive complaint after complaint after complaint about how rude the kitchen staff was. And it was basically because they were having to tell the kids, you have to take this whether you want it or not. And the kids take that personally. But now they're actually building on those relationships, and our entire agency is trauma-informed trained. So that's a big thing for us, to build those connections with those kids.
So I think that's a really great idea. And I didn't think about the texture issues that some youth may have with their food. And I can just say from experience, like with my own child, like if he doesn't like what's in the cafeteria, then I expect him to be hangry by the time I pick him up. So I can totally understand the importance of having a good meal and getting the interaction with the youth there. So I commend you guys. So, and I may be calling you Mr. Larry to speak to my people because I think it's a really good idea if you're able to move away from the national programs. So thank you for offering to share your menus.
We'll also happily extend an invitation if anyone is ever out on our campus, between our serving times for lunch. We'd love you to come through the line, meet the team, try the soup, try the meals, and just see what we're talking about, because it does make a big difference. My wife hasn't packed me a lunch in 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Which is a relief for her as well.
So what's the soup for today?
It was the tortilla soup.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
chicken
scratch.
tortilla.
Yeah.
We also
Sounds great.
we had also been going a little extra on the holidays, like because when I had first started, Thanksgiving was right around the corner, and then Christmas. So in my mind, I was like, oh, we got to give these kids like a spread. So it was like it was a. I mean, if you could take a picture of a 1950s commercial of what a Thanksgiving dinner would look like, it was like that. It was like, all these pies, like I got 4 whole turkeys and roasted them and broke them down, and I was like, why am I doing this? This is way too much work. But uh, like mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, like everything you can imagine that you would want on a Thanksgiving dinner, we had it. And the kids were like, last year we got like deli sliced turkey, like just slices of turkey. And I was like, oh, this is like whole, 18-pound turkeys. So that was fun.
Have you all thought about like incorporating like cultural foods for the different type of youth that may be at your facility?
Oh yeah, we'll do like we've been, touching on curries and like a lot of like Spanish cooking, like green chicken chili, and uh we've been talking about going into like a lot of Greek food, but I don't know how the kids are gonna like that. Like falafel and stuff, that's gonna be a hard sell probably. But yeah, we're really kind of offering some stuff that they would have never had. Like especially just the soups. We're making some stuff that they're like, what is this? And they're like, I don't like, I won't like this soup. It's like, I hate black beans. And I'm like, just try it. And then they try the black bean soup, which is basically black beans. And then they're coming back for seconds. So I'm like, you just have to try it. So instead of that power battle where I'm like, try it, you got to try it. It's like they'll kind of talk with me about how they're like, oh, I don't like green stuff. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You just got to try. You probably just haven't had it prepared well. And then they'll try like one little Brussels sprout, and then they'll come back and ask for a bowl of Brussels sprouts. So that's where I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting kids to come back for seconds on Brussels sprouts.
Success. Yes. Oh, then one more thing, I'm be quiet. And so what about like introducing the different types of vegetables? Like, cause I've seen some vegetables recently, like I was like, I've never heard of is it a jicama
Oh
or
yeah, jicama.
like different types of
Yeah,
vegetables?
I'm trying, but it's like right now the supply chain is really wild, and the prices of everything. Like I was trying to get some avocados in just for this one chili dish. I was like, I really want to, doctor it up with some avocados, and they were like $3 a piece.
Yeah, I heard they went
And I
up.
was like,
Yeah.
this is wild. So I'm like, I can't buy these. Like 12 avocados is like putting me way over budget. So, but we are trying like, a lot of root vegetables like parsnips.
Sweet potatoes all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, sweet potatoes, different varieties of potatoes.
One of the things we also offered every meal, we have fresh fruit, apples, oranges, bananas, and we go through 80 pounds of bananas a week. We go through 40 pounds of apples, 40 pounds of oranges. The kids love the fresh fruit. We allow them to get seconds on the side items and as much fresh fruit as they want. They're only allowed one main entree because we do have to kind of monitor their calorie intake to keep them on that. But just seeing them come back for seconds on fruit, fresh fruit every day. We put cantaloupe out all the time. We put out, we try different fruit they may not have tried before. And I'm just impressed with, the total pounds of fruit we go through indicate that our, the 48 kids we serve in our IRT are eating several pounds of fruit a person, per week, which I think is impressive and great. So we're happy about that.
Good deal.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate you guys again for coming in and speaking to us. And I hope that other programs are able to implement some of your wonderful practices. So thank you again, Clay, Larry, and Adria. We are going to go ahead and move forward. I want to just see what is going well with you guys right now. So I know people love to speak up in our talks. So does anybody have anything to say about what's going well? And then I'm going to sort of add to that as well. We're getting into, well, hopefully with all the snow and ice we've had lately, I'm starting to doubt. I'm definitely a summer person, but we're getting a little bit warmer. And so that means activities and events going on. Do you guys have any activities and events that you would like to share or talk about?
Well, we don't have activities and events. Well, we have some activities scheduled. Everybody knows spring break is coming up, and our rec department has worked really hard to get some pretty good activities on the schedule during the spring break. I think they're going to go, like there's a group going to go to Petty Jean and go hiking, and there's a group that's going to go to Hot Springs, to the Mid-American Museum, and the fact that the COVID numbers are coming down, we are now going to be able to pick up with some of those external off-campus activities for those kids that it's safe to do so. Of course, we always have to keep safety in mind, but they're working really hard on getting back out in the community and doing some of those other things that are available to us in the great state. We have some great things to do here that don't cost us any money, and some things that do cost us money. And the fact that the COVID numbers are now going down where it's safe enough for us to do so, I think the kids are really looking forward to that. And I'm certainly hoping that once we're able to get back off campus and go on outings and things like that, that some of our behavior issues will decrease and we won't have near as many seclusions and restraints as we've had recently. Because I don't know about y'all, but for us during COVID and when we've had to stay completely separated and houses have to go on quarantine, it has been pretty stressful for us, and our numbers have greatly increased.
I do think that is across the board that, we've seen higher restraints and upset kids. So I'm hoping that will change as that goes on. Anybody else?
So here at Perimeter of the Ozarks, we, our activities coordinator too is just really ramping things up. We have a lot of fun things planned out. I think we have a different special thing each day of the week. I know we got pajama day, and I'm not sure what all else. And then we also have, I know they have a tie-dye activity that we're going to get the girls involved with. Ray, you might be able to, Ray's our clinical director. Just be able to finally able to get him on here with me. You could probably share a little bit more about it, what we're doing.
Well, yeah, one of them is Twin Day, but I don't think I'm going to be able to grow your beard between now and then. So that could be a real challenge. So, but yeah, we've just have an activity coordinator that is very fired up about. And so what we're taking a look at is a lot of inexpensive type of activities that you can do that are focused around. And of course, this is because of in my former life as a certified ropes course person, using those low elements that you can build out of stuff that's very cheap and expensive and can really start to teach a lot of social skills for the kids. So we're way excited about that. And of course, we live in the greatest state of the union, I will say, because we have all this outdoor activity that we can do that cost like zero. So it just requires some proper planning and training and so forth. But we are really psyched about that. And we don't care if we got to go all the way through Deltacron, Omicron, or whatever it is. We just feel like we have to have access to the outdoors because it's a huge it's just a huge thing that you can get out in the sunshine. It changes kids' behavior. It changes my behavior. Yesterday I walked out and it's 74 degrees and I'm like, oh my gosh. In fact, I told Derek this morning, it's time to go crappie fishing. So it's just time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
One other thing that they did that was really our activities coordinator that was really neat the other day was they had canvases. And so they had an art project. And so right now they're lined up in our admin hall waiting to be able to be up on the wall. But the challenge was you can use whatever you want to make your creation, but no paintbrushes. So they were using feathers and all sorts of weird stuff to, there's a couple earplugs and a cup, and I think a marker was attached somewhere, just glued onto the canvas. So some of them are interesting, and others are just, it's amazing what kind of creativity these girls have. So.
Great. Wonderful. Anybody else?
Yes, at Perimeter Behavior Forest City, we have May Day coming up, and that's where we'll get some bouncy houses. We're going to have it around Easter and do Easter egg hunt for the smaller kids and staff versus residents basketball game for the older kids. We have a daily rotation. Speaking of being outside and the clinical benefits of fresh air and movement, we have a daily rotation of outside time, and our gym recently got opened back up, and that's been pretty awesome. We also working with our environmental care, risk manager, have a daily clean room contest, and our boys are pretty competitive, and so we tap into that in a positive way, and they really get into that with a daily room challenge. And we also practice and kind of focus on good sportsmanship. We turned it into a learning activity or a learning moment. So when they're doing these activities, we kind of say, hey, this is how you use your politeness skills, or this is how you use, your conflict resolution skills when you get mad because you didn't win the room challenge for that day. We try to have a big event once a month to kind of give the kids something to look forward to long term. And short term, we do like small incentives and special events for activities. So we're really excited about the spring as well.
Thank you, Antoine. I really do appreciate that. Something I do want to say off of that, I got to spend a time with the facility yesterday, and that's something that was brought up was a reward system, or making, a competition out of things. And I think that's a great idea. Is, if children like to say, use markers and color, and, we're having behavioral issues, use that as an incentive and say, well, you'll get the chance to do this, if you pick up your room, or like you said, the contest where it's, we'll have a winner of the best, the cleanest room, or, the most decorated room, or whatever it may be. I think that's just a great idea. And it gives, those skills and those challenges to understand. I mean, because as an adult, it's hard enough, I know, for me to make my bed every morning, to, pick up the clothes off the floor, so she just wanted to just throw on the floor and be done. But, teaching those life skills earlier in life will help with, organizational skills in the workplace in the future, with, cleanliness, time management, things that you have to have in a workplace, or you won't stay in that workplace for long. So I think that's a great idea. So I do appreciate you sharing that, Antoine.
And I'd like to say, in terms of staying in a workplace, we have what we call a keep committee, and their responsibility is to come up with different fun things for our team members that are serving our clients to help keep morale up, because we all know that the happier our staff are, the better care they will take of our clients. If they're burnt out, if they're frustrated, they're not going to really do what we really need them to do to keep our clients safe. So this week in particular, with it being St. Patrick's Week, our keep committee, a couple of the members of our keep committee, printed out little leprechauns and put the faces of all of our executive officers on them, and we have hidden them all over campus. And it's for the staff members to find, and of course we're not hiding them too hard because we want the staff to, be monitoring the children, so they're pretty easy to find. But when you find one, when you catch your leprechaun, you get to come up here and pick a bag of gold. Now, the leprechaun may have played tricks on you, so some people got really good things like golden Oreos and goldfish crackers, and some people got things like gold milk flour that they would bake with, or a golden Monster energy drink or something like that. So they never knew. Somebody got Gold Bond healing lotion. You never knew what your gift is going to be. But it's just something fun for the staff to do as well, to kind of help keep that morale up, and make this a great place to work, and also keep them happy enough that we know that they're going to take really good care of our kids.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adria. Pasana, I believe I saw your hand up. Perimeter of Forest City.
I was actually just clapping.
Okay.
But I can't. But yeah, I can kind of just give some more insight. I know Mr. Anton went on ahead and spoke on behalf of Forest City, but we are in the midst of just kind of, we got our gym up and running. We are just excited about a lot of the things that we want to implement, especially as it get warm outside. I know Mr. Anson talked about the bouncy houses that we have coming. And even with like, getting a basketball team here at Forest City. Of course, you all know I play basketball. I'm really competitive. So I think it will bring a lot of excitement, especially with us having 60 plus residents in the facility and them looking forward to something. I actually just did like a track and trend analysis earlier this week, and I was looking at our ESIs, of course. Fourth quarter of last year, we were hitting some really high peaks. But I'm happy to say that this quarter we have, it has been a dramatic drop in the use of physical interventions, which I'm really happy for, because a lot of times, if it's a serious occurrence, I'm reporting it. So a lot of my fourth quarter last year was spent reporting incidents, reviewing cameras. Although that hasn't really declined, I have seen a huge decline in the use of physical restraints, which I'm proud of, because that means that our staff are buying into us using verbal de-escalation. Being that we are a SAMA facility, utilizing the assistant process has been impactful. So we just look forward to, with those declining, our ESIs and, interventions, now we can kind of, step away from that and focus more on, the kids having something to look forward to and excitement and positive morale and stuff like that. So I'm super amped up, as you all can tell. And of course, I love St. Patrick's Day, so I had to put on all my gear today, as well as, Memphis is in the NCAA. So I'm just kind of all over the place today, but I'm super excited about what all we have coming and what we have in store, especially as it get warm outside.
Wonderful. Thank you, Prasanna. I do want to shift gears real quick. I want to talk about something a little more serious. We've noticed lately in our psychiatric facilities that we've had some issues with following the guidelines in terms of turning in incidents. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So in our 110 section of our minimum standards, we have 110.12, which states the agency shall notify the licensing unit by the next business day when a report of child maltreatment is accepted by the child abuse hotline against the owner, operator, employee, foster parent, volunteer, child, or other person in a child welfare agency. And then as well as regulation 110.17 that says the agency shall notify the licensing unit by the next business day of serious injuries requiring emergency medical treatment, agency vehicle accidents, arrest, elopements, suicide attempts, or deaths, and maintain documentation of the incident notification. I can't stress enough the importance of this. I can say that pretty much the majority of our facilities have been having some issues with this lately. Here and there, it's not a huge thing that we're seeing. I mean, it's becoming problematic in our minds, but just make sure that if you have an incident that happens, say on a Friday afternoon, or even on the weekend, that you notify your staff, your specialists. Clayton and Chelsea are here. You can email them, you can text them, just let them know that an incident has happened, and say report coming soon, because I understand sometimes things happen at 2-3 in the morning, and you're up there trying to do a report, and you're tired and overwhelmed because you spent 2 hours dealing with an escalated child or a elopement. So just make sure that you're notifying us so that we know that things have gone on, because if we find out about stuff before we get that from you all, that becomes problematic. So I just wanted to bring that into focus, that those regulations are there for a reason. So just keep up doing a good job with that. And if you have any questions about that, I'm glad to answer those questions. But I just wanted to bring that up as sort of a simple note for this meeting. And also, I'm going to sort of open this up to a question and answer time right now. We have a few of our providers on here, and I know we've had I've been really impressed in the past few times that we've done this new psychiatric provider call of the questions that have been brought up by our providers and how people are willing to answer and help others. So anybody that have any questions or anything that they want to bring up before we close our meeting today?
I'd just like to tell Prasanna that Arkansas is in the tournament as well.
I know one of the things that we're dealing with currently in our QRTP programs, we've had some pretty significant, and Clayton knows this, significant incidents happen lately. So we're pretty concerned about the level of acuity of the clients that they're sending us to this QRTP program. We're having to use acute facilities more and more and more for these clients. And I know that we're struggling where we have recommended that DHS seek residential treatment for several of them. And these clients are still, months later, sitting in our QRTP program. And that not only, because those programs are run so differently compared to our PRTF program, it presents a safety issue for the kids, the other clients in the house, the staff members. We've had several staff members that have been assaulted recently. I don't know if anybody else is struggling with that, but you're getting clients that are not really appropriate for that program. And what kind of things are you guys doing to address that with DHS?
Adria, on the other side, on the PRTF side, we are experiencing the same thing, believe it or not. And and we have to constantly remind, hey, we're treatment versus a placement. And we've gotten our marketing team, Danielle, has been awesome because she's, of course, more connected to different entities. We've gotten this clinical directors are going to be getting on this call weekly. So there's different things that they're doing, but it's frustrating. But just really, communication, a lot of teamwork, some uncomfortable conversations that have to happen because we both know, whether it's on your side or ours, when you have a kid that's not suited, it's not, safe, and, you're not going to put the kid out. So we're also experiencing that a lot as well.
So as the program manager, I am noticing that with the QRTPs across the state, they're also having the same concerns that you just spoke about. And again, they're needing to follow up with DCFS and kind of express those concerns. And so I'm end up asking them, like, are you meeting with the agency? Like, what are your plans for the child? Because across the state, staff are being assaulted. Like you said, more of the kids are going acute. And, it's kind of concerning because I kind of question, like, okay, was your agency really prepared to become a QRTP? Because it seems like, are you able to handle those children? Does it seem like it, just being honest? And so I think that's something that you guys need to really discuss with DCFS about, and kind of like push the issue with them of what the concerns that you're seeing. So that's my advice.
On the flip side of that, you're looking at residential. Kids are no longer appropriate for residential, and they're being stuck in residential. And I'm a pretty vocal person. So, I think the QRTPs are a nightmare. I've done this 20 years and I've worked for DHS, and those kids, I know here in Monticello, the police are on the program here that's running it because the kids are leaving campus. The kids are breaking into churches. Those kids need to be in a lockdown facility. Unfortunately, we did it. I think Centers did it for a year and then did not renew the contract. And then for us, like I said, it's the kids that have no place to go that are now stuck in residential. They feel like they've done the program, they've finished their treatment, and now they're discouraged because they're not getting to discharge. And I guess my concern is that I'm seeing a lot of attempts at different things, and I appreciate that. But I'm not hearing one thing about any new programs, any new buildings, because I'm gonna tell you what, we got some kids up in this building that are not going nowhere. They cannot be in a therapeutic. They cannot be in a foster home. It's almost like we need to revert back to orphanages because these kids are not getting adopted. I hate to tell everybody. So where are these kids right now? The big thing is housing them in residential or acute. And I'm not housing them here. And the disadvantage right now that I think DHS has is that I'm getting 10 referrals a day. I don't have to take that kid that's beating up the foster parent and beating up the police and beating up, I've got things I can choose from. It's a crisis. And I don't know who's talking about it. You don't hear it on the news. You don't hear the governor talking about it. You don't. And if anybody's been in this field, we remember Angela R., back in the Clinton days when DHS was overseen for 20 years. I hate for something to come to that there's a severe occurrence somewhere. But folks better wake up, and protect yourself, protect your facility, and protect your folks, because these kids are not like anything I have ever seen. And I'm talking about, we take 5 to 17. So I've got, 8-year-olds in here that have no empathy, no, I'm telling you, in the last 5 years, it has just been, the kids are just totally different. Medicine's not working, interventions is not working. You can't keep staff. People are not going to take that liability of, I get college kids that are going to be coaches, teachers, nurses. And they're not going to take that chance of something happening. And I told them one day last week, I would have put my badge down on the desk and said, thank you for the experience, and I'm getting the hell out of here. So, that's just being real. And I don't know if y'all are experiencing that, but somebody just needs to start talking some real talk and figure out what are we going to do with these kids. Never in the last 20 years, in the last year, I've had 4 disrupted adoptions. I've got 1 in my building right now. Where are all these kids going? Folks are not coming to get them. So,
Absolutely.
Huh?
I said absolutely. Thank you, Karen, for bringing that up.
Sorry, I know I'm preaching to the choir. I guess I just don't understand why it seems like sometimes I'm the only one concerned about this, because that's what we need to be meeting on. Who's going to open up some new buildings? Who's going to open up some appropriate facilities to keep these kids safe and staff safe?
Absolutely. Thank you, Karen, for bringing that up. And I know it's been on everybody's mind, and we can see that as well. So I do appreciate you bringing that up. Anybody else?
So not something that necessarily need to be a lengthy discussion here, and I don't mind putting my contact information in the chat. But I'd just like to I'm newer to Arkansas. I came down from New York, so I'm coming up on a year. And the QBHP is a new thing for me. We don't have them here in our facility. And I'd like to I have Ray, and I haven't picked his brain clean yet, but I know he's pretty familiar with it, but I would love to just have a chat or get more information on the QBHPs and just what that looks like for different facilities. Even if it's not something we'd bill for as a service, it just sounds like there's a lot of skills that are taught and tested with that to where it would be a beneficial thing. So just looking for more information on that, if anybody can get with me at some point.
Thank you, Derek. So if anybody has any information about, how to, train people with QBHP or to get them certified or how that process works, if you'll reach out to him, or if you have if you don't have his information, you can reach out to me. I'll be glad to provide his contact information, and he's put it in the chat as well. So any last minute things? We're getting towards the end of our hour.
I just would throw my 2 cents in on hearing Miss Karen talk. And yeah, you are preaching to the choir. There's some residents over here at this end of the world. But I do think we need to take a long, hard look at the efficacy of just relying completely on a medical model. And I know that I run the risk of desecrating something that's pretty sacred for our particular programs. But I think we need to take a look at a whole lot of integration at this point. I know that's very broad and so forth, but I just really feel like there's a lot of things that we can do to change our milieus to make them more healthy. And yeah, it does. There needs to be obviously some new structural things that can go along with that. But what I don't want to have happen is I don't want to repeat some of the things that I have seen in our neighboring state of Missouri, where we build a facility and it's got a great program, but then 2 kids run off and something happens within 12 hours. The sheriff is there keeping the locals from ransacking the building and shooting the kids, which oftentimes my staff felt like doing anyway. That's why we didn't give juvenile officers guns back in the day. Sorry, bad humor. But I just really feel like we need to start taking a look at, philosophically, our environment, our staff, the way we train them, and what we actually do to support them to professionalize this profession. Because too long, the direct care workers have been those who, even though we're paying above minimum wage, it's really not that much, because how many of us in this particular conversation could live on what we're paying these guys? And so, yes, they're running the risk of their future ability getting on the disqualification list or having a child abuse and neglect complaint substantiated on them, which would definitely tarnish your career. But what are we doing to professionalize it? And that's why, I'm feeling pretty strong and just jumping in with Derek and saying, yes, qualified behavioral health provider is definitely a way to do it, because it gives people a career path. Anyway, I'll hush up and finish my coffee, but I really enjoyed listening to the challenges.
Thank you, Ray, for that. I'm going to go ahead and close for today. If you guys have any questions, of course, you can reach out to Chelsea and Clayton and myself, or Shay or Ebony, and we'll be glad to get you to who you need to. Background check unit has provided their information as well in the chat. If you didn't get that, or you don't get that by the time we close out here in just a minute, and you need that, I'll be glad to provide that as well. I thank you again for coming in today, and I just appreciate all of our facilities and what you guys are doing, and I know that we're here for you guys. So thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day.
Austin.
Thank you.